So good afternoon, Helen Phillips. Thank you very much for joining Regulation Matters today. I'm afraid it's a bit of a damp day in Bedford, but thanks for talking to us. I'd like to understand a little bit about the Legal Services Board. And of course you are the Interim Chair and you've been so since summer last year, but you've been a board member for a couple of years, I believe.
That's right.
What's been your findings of the legal sector thus far?
I have to say, Helen, it's been a real privilege being involved with the legal sector. It's not everyone who gets the opportunity to spend their time with people who are dedicated to upholding the rule of law. And the professions take their responsibilities very seriously, or maybe I should say the profession takes its responsibility very seriously. Whether that's, in terms of showing the highest levels of integrity or being mindful of the solemn responsibility they have as officers of the court. And I think that's a very good thing, because the stronger the brand of the various branches of the profession, the more I think the public can rely on that professionalism as being, a hallmark of people who are going to look after the public interest, look after their customers well in terms of the quality of that consumer experience. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I suppose we have some concerns about the market, not least of all on the back of our research, which has shown that there is a significant amount of unmet legal need. And that's obvious around certain groups of individuals and particularly around SMEs, where small and medium-sized enterprises often don't go to take legal advice even when they've identified they have a legal problem.
So leading on then into your thinking about your consultations that you've got out currently, one of which is the business plan and strategy, and all the profession hopefully will be responding to that, thinking of what you've just said about the unmet legal need. How is your consultation shaped in terms of what you're looking to do in that strategy and business plan, and how do you think it will bring about a positive change for regulators or the profession or consumers?
Well, in terms of unmet legal need, I think before we get too concerned about that, albeit it is a concern, I mean, it will be inappropriate not to recognise the extent to which the market has already grown. So if you think about the proliferation of alternative business structures, which are giving consumers more choice, I think that's a really good thing. And also some very interesting research we did recently, which shows that they're often more innovative types of businesses. So that's a good thing. So it's not as if there's nothing happening in the market to do that. In terms of the strategy, we have three overarching objectives. The first won't surprise you, which is about protecting public interest through effective regulation. And the second is all about this very issue you've raised of access and making sure there are choices for the whole range of consumers, and also that there's proper redress for people when things don't go as they would have expected. And last but by no means least, we'll have a focus on growth and innovation and diversity, which won't surprise you. And that consultation, of course, is still open. And it's open from recollection until the 19th of February.
Okay.
And I think from being closely involved with the strategy development process, I'd say possibly a shift that I hope people who engage with it will recognise is a real genuine desire to work in collaboration. And when we had a choice about whether we limited our ambition to things that we knew were within our own gift to achieve, or whether we were a bit more ambitious and said in terms of some of those big issues, will we have much better outcomes if we're able to work and collaborate with others? And that's why some of the dialogue and the early discussions, particularly with the frontline regulators, has been not so much, do you like our strategy, but of those elements of our strategy where you have as much of an interest in this outcome as we do, what are the sort of things that we might be able to do together to really progress this.
That sounds good. And can I briefly touch on the other consultation that's out at the moment with the LSB, which is the internal governance rules, so the IGR. What role do you think they play in delivering consumer confidence in the legal sector?
I think they're fundamental to confidence, because regulation that's independent of the professions and independent of government and seen to be independent inspires public trust and confidence. And the IGRs have always been important, but I think, if we're just being sensible and practical and recognising the pressure that's on the current legislative timetable and the fact that we're very unlikely to see a more fundamental review of particularly the relationship between the representative bodies and the frontline regulators, it's imperative that we make the very best of the arrangements that are open to us within the current framework. And I would very much hope that that's going to be the opportunity that we have now in reviewing the IGRs.
Okay, well, we'll put some information on the relevant webpage of Regulation Matters about both consultations, and of course when those responses come in we'll also put links there, so anybody who's interested in having a look in a bit more closer detail, you can of course access them. So thanks very much, Helen, for talking to Regulation Matters. Hopefully it's not the last time we speak to you, but perhaps we'll come back and see you in another 6 months' time and see how you're getting on implementing the strategy and the business plan.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.